Have you ever caught yourself imagining a conversation that never actually happened? Maybe you're in the shower, driving, or lying awake at midnight, and living out a whole other version of your life. The one where different decisions got made, the one where things went better for you, and you've been doing this for as long as you can remember. And somewhere along the way, you started to suspect you do it more than most. You do. And the longer it goes on, the harder it gets to feel fully present in the life that's actually happening. You've probably been calling it daydreaming for years, which is technically correct, but it doesn't really capture what it actually looks like. Because what you do isn't just daydream. You build entire worlds with recurring characters, unfinished conversations, versions of events that haven't happened yet or happened years ago and somehow still needs a proper ending. And the strange part? You can jump right back into it at any moment. For most people, that means years of trying to explain it to someone and watching them nod politely while clearly thinking, yeah, that's just daydreaming. But in 2002, a clinical psychologist named Eli Sommer gave it a name, maladaptive daydreaming, a formal recognition that for certain people, this is compulsive, consistent, and has been a part of their lives for a very long time. Those who come across this term for the first time have the same reaction. Wait, that's it? This is what I've been trying to describe. Having a name is one thing, but understanding where it started is something else. This almost never begins in adulthood. Maladaptive daydreaming tends to appear in childhood. The conditions that produce it are consistent: emotional unavailability at home, chronic loneliness, a sense of not quite belonging to the world you'd been placed in. A child in that situation doesn't have the tools an adult has. They can't leave, and they don't have the language to bridge the gap between what they need and what they're getting. So the brain builds a place where it can escape, a place where conversations go the way they're supposed to go. You can replay events until they resolve correctly. You can create a version of yourself that gets what you actually needed. The imagined world is controllable in a way that the real one wasn't. Sumser found this pattern in participants across different backgrounds, different countries, different circumstances. The details varied, but the origin story didn't. The kid who built it was doing the most intelligent thing available to them. So, that intelligence didn't disappear when you grew up. If any of that felt true, drop a comment. I will reply to each. And here's where it gets interesting. The same brain that taught itself to build entire worlds, full conversations, full relationships, full emotional consequences, spent years developing capabilities that most people don't actually have. Empathy that runs unusually deep. The ability to step into someone else's feeling, to understand the shape of an experience you haven't personally had. Creativity that can feel almost embarrassing in how naturally it comes. Sommer's participants described this consistently. Creative gifts they couldn't fully explain, an ability to feel alongside other people that sometimes felt more like a burden than a gift, because feeling everything at the full volume is exhausting. When everyone around you seems to have a volume dial you were never given. What that brain built over all those years goes very deep, deeper usually than the person living inside it realizes. But there's a cost, and it's specific. The fantasy world has something the real world doesn't. You're in control of it. In there, people respond the way you need them to. Conversations resolves, arguments end with understanding. You get the apology. The version of your life that exists in your head is under your control in a way the actual one never will be. But real people don't follow the script. Conversations go sideways. Intimacy requires letting someone into the actual version of you, the one that doesn't always say the right thing, the one that loses arguments and makes bad calls. And the brain that learned, at a very young age, that reality was something to be escaped rather than inhabited, is still running on the same logic. The longer the imagined life continues, the more satisfying and detailed it becomes. Meanwhile, the real one, with all its actual uncertainty and actual stakes, starts to feel flat by comparison. That's the gap, and the gap keeps getting wider. You can't just decide to stop. It's been tried. And that works for about 3 days. The real fix is making the present safe enough to stay in. Trying to suppress daydreaming without understanding what it's protecting tends to fail quickly. Now the question that actually moves something: what is the fantasy protecting you from right now? When you drop into the imagined version of a conversation, The one where they finally understand. The one where you finally say the thing. What are you protecting yourself from in the real version? When you run the alternate version of your life, what would you have to accept if you stopped? The fantasy is always protecting something specific. A fear, an unfinished grief, a version of yourself that feels too exposed to bring into the room. When you can name what's underneath it, the grip starts to loosen. You're still carrying the fear. You're just no longer running from it in a world you made up. And that's a different problem to have. And for a long time, the world inside your head was the safest place you knew. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. See you in the next one.